Just a small town company living in a shoe world. Just a basketball scout living it up in Las Vegas. They boarded the Jordan bandwagon, going everywhere. Because we're talking movies, we're talking Air. Starring Matt Damon, Jason Bateman, and Viola Davis. Written by Alex Convery and directed by Ben Affleck. You know, Chris, sometimes the most you can do is all you can do.
Wow, I actually went and got like an extra quote because I figured you were going to use the most notable quotable in this film. A shoe is just a shoe until someone steps into it. But also I've got money can buy you almost anything. It can't buy you immortality. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? If you've ever wanted to see an almost 2-hour-long night commercials, don't worry, the guys from Good Will Hunting have brought it to you via Amazon. It's 2023's Air. Scott, swoosh, take us away.
Okay, first, I just wanted to start off with a little tangent before we get into the movie. So based on our conversation last week, Chris, how did you enjoy the Rock of Ages soundtrack that was played through this whole movie? Was it to your liking?
Oh, so this, I actually am going to, at some point, talk directly about, again, the fucking ham-fisted use of fucking 80s music instead of 90s music just jammed in. There's one fucking sequence where there's like 4 fucking songs used, basically where they go from like The Office to an exterior shot to like the Porsche pulling up, and it's like bam, 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 and I'm like, fuck, guys, this is why this thing has a $90 million budget. That and its cast, because it it was
100% just the licensing for the soundtrack.
Oh, 100%.
Because I think they even said that they wanted the Eurythmics and somebody
Eurythmics?
else.
Yeah. Sweet Dreams?
They wanted that. Oh, I don't know if it was Sweet Dreams. Sweet Dreams in general, but they wanted Duran Duran and the Eurythmics for the soundtrack, but because of the licensing stuff, it wouldn't have fit the budget of this movie, so they had to take them out.
Yeah, and it's already $90 million. For a fucking basically an indie feature. Like there's if you replace the like, and I know this is a big, selling point of the film, it's got Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Chris Tucker and Viola Davis and what's his name there?
Bateman?
Yes, Jason Bateman. So like, yes, those salaries are taking up. So if you just like replace them with like regular actors, this has now become like a maybe $1 million film. You know what I mean? So yeah, between the music and the cast, this indie feature is almost $100 million.
Okay.
So that was your tangent. So let's get into
because I was laughing. No, I was laughing the whole time.
The schnitzel and the spatchel.
Yeah, no, I was laughing the whole time watching this, and they just went from one song to another song to another song. It's just like, okay, we're going back to Nike headquarters and we got this song now. It's just like, okay. But I'm like, oh, Chris is gonna tear this up. I'm like, if he didn't like James Gunn choice of music, but I don't understand why you wanted them to have 90s music if this film was based in 1984.
What are you fucking 80s. Talking about? I'm saying we did Guardians of the Galaxy and they ham-fisted a bunch of 90s music.
Oh, okay.
This is ham-fisted a bunch of No, I don't want 90s music. Come on. You know what? I'm actually going to start with my quote because I think it's going to like kick off this whole conversation with this film. So,
okay.
Matthew Lacona from the San Diego Reader said, "Nostalgia is the only reason I can think of to explain why old friends Ben Affleck and Matt Damon reteamed for a movie that so artlessly sets out to make us love shoe company Nike for buttering up a college hoop star better than Adidas or Converse." And really, it's that word nostalgia. I think we're going to be talking about nostalgia throughout this film, both like how it was used in set decoration. We've already talked about music supervision, but even just like why you would go out and watch this film without if it wasn't for nostalgia. So I think nostalgia is the word of the day on the calendar. So
Okay, so in terms of nostalgia, the whole basis of this film is based off that documentary, The Last Dance. I don't know if you ever watched it, but it's fucking good. But there's a small
I
little
was too busy
section.
watching what is it, Winning Times or whatever about the LA Lakers
Oh, I haven't watched
on
that.
HBO. That is fucking good. That is a great film. That's more of a
Well,
drama
that's a
about, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, like there was a small little section about the whole Nike trying to get Jordan, and Alex Convery, the writer, decided to do more research on it, and made the book, wrote the script, and it was on, fuck, what is it called,
The
Blacklist?
Blacklist. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's what it got picked up at Sundance, I think it was, and
No,
by Amazon.
it got picked up by the Blacklist by Amazon, and then it premiered at South by Southwest. Come on, get your premiere
No,
festivals.
I'm saying where it got picked up, and then when Affleck and Damon got attached.
I don't think it was Sundance. Like I said, anyway, maybe you have different information. I know that it premiered at South by Southwest.
Yes, premiere is after it's made.
Yes,
Yes.
correct. Thank you.
But
Thank you for that piece of information.
before it got made, when they're like, fuck it, we're gonna make this, right? But I will say this, like, I'm just gonna keep this super simple because I'm as simple as it is. Like, for a movie with no action, this film is 100% made by the dialogue that's being delivered and written by Mr. Convery here. It's what keeps you engaged, right? I think each performance was good. And as the game show goes, there were no real weak links in this. Like, before you fucking start with Affleck, because I know this is where you're gonna go. I think he did pretty good job in this ensemble piece, right?
Okay,
Agree, disagree?
so no, he's fine. Everybody's fine. I mean, I originally thought that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had written this because there's so many scenes that are filler scenes that really, I mean, their exposition, or they, flush out the story a little bit more. But essentially, they're just like two-handers, tete-a-tetes of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon going back and forth. That I was like, or even like Jason Bateman or Chris Tucker, like going back and forth. And it made it feel like a bunch of actors were like, you know what I really want? I complained about this in House of Gucci, where you get a bunch of like kind of A-list actors together and they're like, but I want more screen time. I want more screen time. So you just have these scenes that you're like, this could have been like a 30-second, like, you're going to sink the company. No, I'm not. Leave room. Instead, it's like 5 minutes of back and forth. And it's like, really? Like, okay,
Well,
you throw one in there. It's sort of like a monologue. You throw one in every once in a while to give the actors the time to shine. But this felt like set piece after set piece after set. And I didn't hate this movie, but it was just like, I guess I expected more out of it. I don't know, because it was getting so much fucking hype. And then I realized that basically, like, sorry, what was the series that it came out of?
The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. Yeah, however long that was in The Last Dance, that's probably about how long this story should be. Like, there's no need that this thing needs to be pushing up on 2 hours. It could be 80 minutes. Essentially, the whole conversation is about, hey, we need to get this athlete. Okay, let's go get this athlete. And we also already know the end of the story because it's not fiction. So there's no chance of us being like, damn, I guess Michael Jordan went to Converse, because we know he didn't go to Converse, right?
I guess what you're saying, but back to what you were saying at the beginning of your ramble there. Affleck and Damon did do some uncredited script revisions
Which I'd also,
because
some of those were for Michael Jordan, but I do wonder how
yes.
much also like tweaking of fucking dialogue went on in there.
Oh, probably when they're doing it,
We need
they
at least
probably
15 more minutes of us talking to each other in this movie.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
they made sure to like include the high school they went into. Like, they mentioned that. So, they kept it close. But all in all, it's an enjoyable film. I watched it obviously on Prime with my wife, and when we first turned it on, the first scene of Affleck and Damon together, she's like, "These fuckers again." She's like, "You haven't watched enough movies with them together." But then, like 5 minutes later, she got enthralled with it. Like she got into it. She was watching it, so she enjoyed it too. So I was
So that's
surprised.
the litmus test. If Scott's wife likes the movie, it's a winner.
Yeah, it's very rare to actually get a film that she will sit down
So
to watch.
it's interesting though, because so when I watch this, I'm like, okay, this feels like definitely like a film for a streaming service. And that originally was what Amazon was going to do to it. Just make it, put it on their platform, good to go. And they gave it a theatrical release, which is impressive.
Well,
But
based on the test screenings, yeah,
yeah.
everybody liked it.
And I mean, it's done about 90 million at the box office. So essentially, I mean, okay, so Amazon did put in $50 million worth of ads,
Adverts, yeah.
right? But if you think, okay, so they were never going to put it on the platform, they were just going to put it on the platform. So they would have been saving 50, but they have gained 90 against their budget. So it's still a win for them, even though they're kind of like still $50 million out. They would have been $90 million out minus whatever they get out of the streaming, which they will still get. So as far as like a business case, like I think it was a smart move to give it a theatrical release, even with that $50 million marketing budget. I mean, they probably didn't need to spend $5 million advertising at the Super Bowl, but fuck it, it's Amazon. What are they worth? Like $2 trillion? So
1 billion, gajillion, fifillion, million.
Sort of like when you're watching Ben Affleck's character, who plays Phil Knight, who's like one of the co-owners, and like he's talking at that time about being $1 billion company and crying about $250,000-$500,000. Like you're kind of like, stop being a bunch of fucking assholes.
I brought you in here to grow the basketball business. It's smaller now.
Is Strasser's number right? 250K.
Yes?
All right, what about 500?
No. You're lucky to have 250K to fight for that. Your balance sheet's a debacle.
But again, they do bring up the point that at that time, Michael Jordan had never been in the NBA. Like he could have easily gone out there, been fucking awful, and that's it. But still, it's only 500,000 guys. You're $1 billion company. And I mean, the rest is history.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I think like the business side is what kind of enthralled me, right? I know they took a lot of liberties on this because even the agent, Jordan's agent, is more of an antagonist than anything in this film, but in reality, he's the one that actually pushed for the Nike meeting, right?
He doesn't want to be here, but he will listen. He promised me that. You have our attention.
So I think,
well, because without conflict, you've just got, so do you want to come to a meeting? Yes. We signed you. Great. Movie's over.
Yeah.
You know
No,
I mean?
exactly. Right. Like my favorite scene, like setup scene, is the actual Nike meeting. And it's when Affleck comes in and he was like, "Oh, I'm super busy,"
that felt so clunky that it made me think that is based on like the real interaction, because you would never write it like that unless that is based on some serious fact. Just like the cumbersome nature of him coming and being like, I'm so busy and I'm the head of $1 billion company. You're like,
but I told them this. I needed to be here. This is super. And then he's like, "You got a video? You got a video? Let's put
video
up
was
the video."
Awful.
I know.
The video was so awful, which also makes me think that is the video that was used.
Like music and all, right?
Oh, that's a bunch of white people being like, "Oh, watch, this is going to be the best fucking video ever."
Well, I think they were joking around about it. Like, before it too, because they're like, "Oh, those videos go really well in these in these meetings, right? We need a video."
My favorite scenes are actually when they're dealing with the shoe designer in the basement, and he's like, "Do you want form? Do you want function? Do you want beauty?" And just like I was like, that the sequence of dialogue was fun. You know what I mean? It was punchy, it was comical, it was interesting. Like, all shoes are white, but Nike decides like, screw the NBA, we're going to pay the fines. I just thought that was a cool, like I said, and originally that's a kind of a cool sequence.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember too, it wasn't Nike. Based on this story, it was the basketball scout. That's like that's what we're gonna do, and the marketing guy, right? And then they only drop it to like the CEO during that meeting. You see his face is like, huh?
Like, $5,000 a game. I don't even know how many games are there in a season.
82. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's total game. A team plays 82. Holy fuck, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, not counting
playoffs. Right?
Right.
So it sounds like all in all, you like the film.
Yeah, it was. I think it was well done. It was entertaining, right? And it's a testament, kind of like, if you do have a decent, solid script, right? Like, and good performers, right? You don't need the action scenes, right?
So one thing I do want to comment on is, so the director of photography is Robert Richardson. And when I was watching it, I was like, this fucking cinematography is not fantastic. Like, I get very tired of the drone shot, pans down, establishing shot, Converse, establishing shot, Adidas. And I understand why they did that, right? In the sense that they shot basically all three buildings roughly the same way. But the cinematographer is, like I said, Robert Richardson. So here's some of the films that he's had nominated for Oscars: Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Hateful Eight, Django Unchained, Hugo, Inglourious Basterds, The Aviator, JFK, Born on the 4th of July, Platoon. He's one of only 3 cinematographers that have won 3 Oscars. Like, so this guy fucking knows what he's doing. I don't know why the cinematography was so like pedestrian. Maybe that's the point. Maybe he didn't want things to get lost. I really noticed those drone shots though. And it's just because I see them in so many films nowadays, like drone shot car driving, drone shot building, like I said, establishing shot, yada, 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 yada. The other thing too, and this is less on him, is sort of like on the topic of nostalgia. It's like, everywhere you look, it's like, oh, I'm playing with a Rubik's Cubes, Ghostbusters, handheld video game. It's like, we get it. It's fucking 1984. Like, you might as well have also thrown on there Nike headquarters, 1984. It's like, we get it. We got the music. We got the fucking.
I was gonna say, didn't they do that? Isn't that the first shot of Nike that says Nike 1984?
Like, I like when those things are like subtle, not just like, hey, yeah, whoa. It's 1984, but nobody's fucking smoking in that office building. Fuck that shit. I can almost guarantee you, it doesn't matter if it's a running company, everybody would have been smoking their faces up. Definitely in Adidas. In fucking Germany right now, they're probably smoking in those offices.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I didn't think about it as much.
You were just too into it. You're like, oh, look at that stand-up arcade video game 80s soundtrack. I want to rock.
I was like, oh my god, Matt Damon in a fat suit. Oh, but
I mean, they could have got Brendan Fraser. He could have reprised the role.
Of what?
Well, because he wore a fat suit in The Whale. That's where I was going with that. But thanks for playing. I love that there's all this big conversation about Viola Davis, who I love as an actor. I mean, Oscar nod and wins for like Doubt and Fences. She was in The Woman King. She's barely in the fucking movie. And yes, Michael Jordan specifically asked for Viola Davis to play his mom. That's awesome. But like, there's all this conversation about her being in this film, and it's like, she's probably got what, 10 minutes of screen time? I guess her character is pivotal.
Listen, do you know what she has? Do you know what she has with this film? Best supporting actress nod. That's what she has.
But she's already won best supporting actress for Fences.
Doesn't matter.
So.
Now she has another one.
Great. It would have been nice
for her
to have a big enough role
know.
to get a lead actor nod, but sure.
Shut up.
This is what you're doing. This is what I want you to do. Any questions?
Did you just tell me to shut up?
Yes.
Do you know what I did know? Julius Tenen, who plays Jordan's dad, is actually, they're both husband and wife in real life.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that is awesome.
That makes your, when you go home to method act, makes it easier. Listen, my take on this is it's like it's fun. It's on Amazon. You can just watch it. You don't need to, I'm glad I didn't go to the theater to watch this. It was never on my radar to see in the theater.
Don't
Okay,
lie.
so hold on.
You did. You did. You're
What?
like, we
I
should
didn't
go
wanna see
see Air.
Yeah, but I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it at home.
I know, but originally when we were doing our slate, you're like, oh, I want to do Air. And I'm like, I'm the one that said I'm not going to the theaters for something that's going to show up on Amazon in 45 days.
So you win, I guess. Here's my question to you, because you feel like every fucking movie we talk about has got an Oscar nod. So you said best supporting for Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Is best picture in the cards?
No.
Best director?
No.
Oh, actually, can we talk? So I looked up Ben Affleck's list. We know that he did Argo, obviously, where they just like reinvented what actually happened. He did The Town, which I love. The Town is actually one of my favorite fucking movies. I think that's great. I do think that him driving that like ridiculous Tundra in it is a bit silly, but that's another one. Have you seen a film called Live by Night?
Yes.
How is it? Is it good?
It's like kind of like I would say it's like kind of trying to be like Chinatown.
Oh, but like a modern version?
No, it's set in the 40s, 50s. It is like back in the day nostalgia.
Okay.
But yeah, like the acting was good, but it bombed in theaters, and that's why he hasn't had a directing thing in a while.
Well, then he did Gone Baby Gone, which is also a fucking great film. But did you see a short? I killed my lesbian wife, hung her on a meat hook, and now I have a 3-picture deal at Disney. Did you see that fucking piece of cinematic awesomeness?
No, but that was in
one of his short films from
1993.
like 1993 or something like that. It is awful. It is fucking awful. Okay, so you don't think best director?
Well, Gone Baby Gone was earlier. That was his first movie.
Okay.
Because when you're like he lived by night and then he did Gone Baby Gone.
Oh, it's just the list I had, right? So
yeah, because Live by Night bombed. That's why it's been almost 10 years since he's directed again.
Oh, okay.
All right. But this one will get him some more,
Is he getting the Oscar nod?
No, he won't get an Oscar nod.
So other than
it'll get it best original screenplay. That much
Okay.
I can say. Or would it be considered adapted because it's based? The idea came from
No. I think to be
Dance.
adapted, it would more. Fuck, that's some legalese there. You know what? That's a good point. We should look into that. Because typically you would have like a fully flushed out like novel or something like that. I guess it depends on how big the segment in The Last Dance is. Like if it's a quick blurb, maybe not. I guess you could look at the screenplay and is it considered like even in the list though, it doesn't say based on. So I don't know. That's a good question, but he'll probably get it. So you're saying there should be a screenplay nod there.
The screenplay and Viola. That's my guess.
And maybe
Wild card is Chris Tuck.
And maybe some set decoration.
Yeah, costume design.
Music super. Wow, what the fuck costume design? There was like almost no costuming. Except Ben Affleck.
Do you see
like,
this costume
shorts.
behind me? Like that is literally going to be my Halloween costume right there. It's right there. I'm getting it ready. I saved it.
Basically, you already look like that. So
I know. I just need the glasses.
Which I think is hilarious.
The perm.
Ben Affleck he's a big dude. But the actual fucking Phil Knight was like a former cross-country runner and track and field runner at Oregon State with like Bill Bowerman and probably like Prefontaine and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like he's probably not as big as Ben Affleck.
I don't know. I did like that when they're showing him run. And that's the thing when you say that he was a cross-country runner and stuff, but when you see like when they do the little running montage, it's like he can't even get up a hill. He's just like, oh fuck it. Right?
Yeah,
he's just like slowly walking up the hill.
In his tight pants and stuff like that. Like I said, watch it on Amazon. It's fun. It'll be interesting. We'll definitely circle back around come award season. We'll see how it does at all the stuff in the fall. That $90 million budget, that's fucking big though, man. That's that Amazon money, man. I want to suck at that teat.
But it is, but it's also not. Like you have technically why. Like you said, you have the cast that it has, and that fucking soundtrack
You got the soundtrack, you got the cinematographer. Like, yeah, even their editor. I don't have his name here, but he's also like an Oscar-winning editor and stuff like that. So you were in good hands. And again, if it wasn't Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and stuff like that, would we even be talking about this film? So there is value in spending that money, bringing in that star power, especially at
now.
that level.
Quick question before we end this: how do you feel about never actually seeing Michael in this film?
Well, to me, the story is not so much about Michael Jordan, the athlete. It's about signing Michael Jordan, the commodity. And so he doesn't really need to show up, right? Like, it's about all the stuff that's happening around him. Like, I guess the question is, what would having Michael Jordan's presence really bring to the film? Like, having more Michael Jordan, how, if you can flesh that out.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, you then have his point of view as well, because it's interesting that they went to him to get, and he was like, you got to cut this person out because they really had nothing to do with it.
And he didn't suggest putting more of him in the film though.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the thing. He did suggest more of his parents though.
And then they got that. Actually, one thing I would have liked to see is more college footage of Jordan, because they really only show the one shot that wins the final. But it would have been kind of cool. Like, if you're gonna fuck it, you're doing nostalgia anyways, let's get a highlight reel of like Michael Jordan. Or maybe there just isn't that much footage, but there would have been the entire lead up to the final when he's in college, right? So
yeah, Sweet 16, March Madness, whatever. But also as well, like it was interesting when they have the big Sonny speech at the meeting, and you're literally watching the snippets of The Last Dance, which is like his whole future, right?
Yeah.
You see what happens with his dad. You see all that. Like, I thought that was like, man, you're really just pretty much trying to cut out everything from that documentary. Like, you don't need to watch it. Just watch this little montage and we're going to fucking tell you.
Or just go watch The Last Dance and don't bother watching, because The Last Dance is about the Bulls in general, isn't it?
Yeah, about their whole last season, right?
Yeah.
Of that team together.
So, yeah, it was fun.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. You know Affleck wants Damon to get the nod, so that way when he accepts, he has to say, like, to my director,
Say it. I almost want him to get it on just to see how that dance happens. I know, Ben, what you want is, therefore, Ben, I'm not gonna do that. And then thank everybody, including like the fucking best boy in Key Grip and everybody else, and then be like, I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Yeah, I just can't remember. Thank you, everybody. And then Ben Affleck and walk off the stage. Like, I think that interplay would be super fun.
Yeah, I think so too.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.